Hey guys, I share coming at you today in Raid Shadow Legends. Welcome to the video, guys. Glad to have you here, taking a little bit of time out of your day to talk about uncommon champions in Raid Shadow Legends with yours truly. First off, before we get to that, I've been a long time, like before anybody knew what podcasts were, podcast listeners. So big fan, audiobook podcasts. I've said this before, but I love consuming audio content, you know. I think it probably stems back from like way back in the day. I used to love when my teachers, like I remember being in like first and second grade and third and fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth grade, around that time period when my teachers would read to us. I loved that, man. I loved that. So I think it's lived on with me today. I guess, you know, when I was a little kid, my mom used to read to me too, and I try to live that on through my child right now. But anyway, I say all that to say any favorite like podcast recommendations out there. I already mentioned Philosophize This is like my favorite podcast. I'm gonna be into like philosophy and existential stuff. I like a bunch of different stuff though. I'm not all like super dense, but speaking of super dense, I also like Lex Friedman's podcast. They're super long, right? I was gonna say wicked long, betraying my northeastern location here in the US.
There's something about an accent that makes a man sound so intelligent.
Wicked long. But Lex Friedman had a mathematician named Edward Frankel on, and I really enjoyed that one. It was like 3.5 hours, but that's what I just finished listening to this morning, so figured I would share that with you guys. Let me know if you have any recommendations as well. So today, uncommon champions in Raid Shadow Legends, man. I had this comment the other day. Noishpa7 says, I love these lists. How about doing an uncommon list? Seriously, I think it would be very interesting to see. Sniper is a monster. Richard said, I love Sniper. She's one of my first champions to 60, and I still use her. So ask and you shall receive, my friends. Let's do a countdown of the top 10 uncommon champions in Raid Shadow Legends from 10 to 1. And I want to be very clear. We'll talk about this as we go through the list today. But a lot of these champions, at least half of them, I personally would not take to level 60. I'd take them to level 50 and use them that way, because you don't want to waste your resources on a champion that's only going to be usable in the beginning of Raid Shadow Legends, the real early game. We'll talk about that as we go through these champions. So starting at number 10, guys, I thought about leaving this guy totally off the list, but he still makes it. He still makes the cut for me, and it is none other than Outlaw Monk. So Outlaw Monk, he's a very squishy champion, 694. I would not personally take him to level 60. I would take him to level 50 and use him in the earliest stages of Clan Boss, especially if you don't go with Kale as your starting champion. He has a chance at an extra turn on the A1, whatever, but he's placing 2 big versions of poison on a 3-turn cooldown on foul play.
That's it.
I can dance too.
Listen, it's not much. None of these champions are going to be much, but it is a dependable 2 poison champion on a 3-turn cooldown in the early game. Again, if I didn't go with Kale, if I went with Elhain or Galek or Aethel as my starting champion, I would consider investing in Outlaw Monk, taking him to 50, building him as tanky as humanly possible with some accuracy, and just laying down some poisons, maybe against early game Dragon and against Clan Boss. So number 10 is going to be Outlaw Monk. Number 9 is actually going to be a tie, the only tie of the video, and the reason it's going to be a tie, we're actually right back in Sacred Order here, is because these champions are literally the same champion. Talk about laziness, Plarium. Come on, man.
You think you're smarter than I am, since it was you who caught me.
No, I know I'm not smarter than you.
Then how did you catch me?
You had disadvantages.
What disadvantages?
You're insane.
It's Sergeant and Crusader. Man, these guys are both uncommon attack Sacred Order champions. On their A1, they both have a hat. Well, it's not called the same, but it attacks one enemy 2 times. And on the A2, it's an ally attack. So Rally attacks one enemy with 1 random ally. The ally joining the attack will use their default skill. So listen, I mean, this kit is really crappy. However, the thing that makes it interesting is this is on a 2-turn cooldown, right? So you have a 2-time hitter on the A1, and then you have, you know, at least a 2-time hitter on the A2 on a 2-turn cooldown, but it could be a 3, 4, 5-time hitter depending on who you're putting on the same team as Sergeant. So for Fire Knight, chipping away that shield in the early game, I don't know, maybe it's a stretch because he's only going to get you to like stage 10 or something. He's just too squishy really to use dependably after that. But again, he's an ally attacker on a 2-turn cooldown. So Sergeant, definitely a champion worth looking at, excuse me. Same thing though, Rally on Crusader, same thing. Hack, it is called the same thing. Wait a second. Hack and Sergeant, they even called the ability the same? Hack and Rally. Hack and Rally. Oh my word. Anyway, there you have it, guys. One little side tangent before we go on to number 8 is I wish they would still add, like, just very occasionally, compelling common champions. If you look at the new factions, man, forget about commons and uncommons. They're barely adding rares. They have 2 rares in Sylvan Watchers. And then Shadowkin, kind of the same deal, man. I mean, why am I back in Sylvan Watchers? I thought I clicked Shadowkin. All right, and Shadowkin, kind of the same deal, man. They only have, you know, 8 rare champions, and they only have 2 uncommons. Womp womp, you know, no commons. Anyway, are they being totally phased out of the game? I think so. They're not too resource intensive, so they're getting rid of them, man. They're getting rid of these champions. That's the nice thing about uncommons, I should say, too, is why would you even ever invest in an uncommon? Because you can pull them from mystery shards, you can book them from mystery shards, and they don't take a lot of resources to like upgrade compared to the other rarities out there. Okay, next up is going to be High Elf Elfguard. So Elfguard, pretty cool champion. On her A1, she has a decrease attack, okay, whatever. And then on the A2, on Impale, again, the cool thing about this is it's a 2-turn cooldown. Decrease the enemy's current turn meter by 50%. So a 50% turn meter reduction on a 2-turn cooldown. That's pretty dang good. It's a pretty good ability here from Elfguard. So again, use it against any boss who's susceptible to turn meter manipulation in the early game. We're talking Spider, we're talking Ice Golem, and of course, we're talking about the Fire Knight. Granted, only a 1-time hitter on the A1, but still, that's a really big turn meter manipulation for a 2-turn cooldown on an uncommon champion. So Elfguard comes in at number 8. All right, Elfguard, maybe you can make a case. She belongs, and I wouldn't take her to 60 either, to be clear. Level 50 is fine on Elfguard, in my opinion. All right, number 7 is going to be a Bannerlord champion, and it is none other than the champion that you never knew you didn't know. It is Word Bearer.
Who's this moondoggy?
Yeah, of course we know Word Bearer. Are you kidding me? Okay, so a million books on this champion for an uncommon, but again, you can just use dupes, just pull enough mystery shards, you'll get enough of her. There's not that many uncommons out there in the game, which is kind of, I guess, in a way, I was just complaining about not having more, but in a way that's kind of a good thing because you can get all the dupes and just book them out if you want to. Attacks 1 enemy, decrease accuracy, whatever. On the A2, hey, check this out. It's an increased defense, weak version, but increased defense nonetheless on a 2-turn cooldown that lasts for 2 turns. Are you kidding me? This is totally useful. Seriously. In the early game, if you don't get like a marked champion, right, or a better epic champion with increased defense, you're kind of SOL. Like they don't give you a free champion in the early game with increased defense. Well, here it is, Word Bearer, right? You get increased defense, 30% is better than nothing, right? And again, she's the Iron Brago of uncommon champions because the duration is just as long as the cooldown, right? And the speed, not too bad, 96. You can build her tanky and fast, and just her only role is to be the Word Bearer and get the increased defense up on your entire team. So actually, I'm gonna be real with you guys. This was the only champion on the list that I was unfamiliar with before I made the list. I just wanted to kind of double check these champions and do my research. And I was like, well, dang, man, she's not that bad. That's a kind of a good ability to have. Coming in at number 6, guys, is going to be the uncommon who is featured in the comment request, and it's Sniper. Sniper can smack an uncommon nuker. She has a rain of arrows on a 3-turn cooldown. Sneaky that they have the cooldown as the second ability. It's good, but it's sneaky because at first you're like 4 turns. But anyway, attacks all enemies 2 times has a 10, make it 25% chance of placing a decreased speed. Good for control, for sure. You can put her in a stun set, 3-turn cooldown, get the decreased speed as well. Has some pretty strong nukes for an uncommon champion. I want to say she's like the second or third best nuker out there in terms of just sheer damage. She also has extra chance at inflicting a critical hit and turn meter fill on double shot. So early game Spider, look no further than Sniper. The only thing that I would say as a knock on Sniper is, you know, you can get Elhain, or like she's not as good as a starting champion as an AoE nuker. Like her nuke does not hit quite as hard, but that doesn't mean you can't run her in tandem with those champions. That doesn't mean that you can't still extract value out of this uncommon champion. Some people, as we saw on the comments today, do take her to 60 and don't regret it. So this one would be, I guess, beauty in the eye of the proverbial beholder here. I would not on my free-to-play take her to 60. I'd still use her at 50 though in a stun set personally. Coming in at number 5 is going to be a Skinwalker. One of my personal faves on the list, guys. This is one of those kits that doesn't really read right. Man, is it me or does like half the Skinwalkers have the exact same body? It's Satyr, Gnarlhorn, Graybeard, blood painted. Oh, he has a red on him. Anyway, Satyr is a really cool champion though. He's an HP-based champion, so a little bit tankier than your regular uncommon. He's got a decreased speed on the A1, great for control against the red boss in Faction Wars. And then on the A2, Catch. It's a 3-turn cooldown, attacks 4 times at random. 100% chance of decreasing the turn meter by 15% if the attack is critical, but that happens on each hit. That's a very important differentiator that it does not say on the actual ability, but that's how it goes. So a great turn meter manipulator, especially against the red boss for Faction Wars. I think taking Satyr to 60 actually makes a lot of sense if you're looking for that, because this ability, Catch, is actually really good if you're struggling in Skinwalker's Faction Wars. So as like a free-to-play, even level 50 with enough accuracy to pull it off, you should be okay there. But Satyr is a really, really good control champion because of that A2. All right, number 4, guys. Number 4 is going to be one of the better campaign farmers in the game. It's none other than Saurus. Saurus is a campaign farmable champion. Really interesting aesthetic on this dude. Like, easy on the head. Saurus!
I love a bit of drama.
AoE on the A1, AoE on the A2. That's all you need to know. Put him in attack percentage on the boots, and you're going to have a great 5 or 6 seconds campaign farmer out there. I have a guide on him on the Champions Guide channel, an updated one showing the best build for campaign farming on Saurus. So, hey, you want a nice, easy to upgrade uncommon champion to be a campaign farmer in pretty good speed? Look no further than Saurus. Number 3 is going to be, drum roll please, it's going to be Zephyr Sniper. Zephyr Sniper is awesome because she's fast for an uncommon at 100 and a lot of defense for an uncommon, so actually a tanky champion. She's a great spider tank, and she's fantastic in a stun set as a control champion because she has an AoE on the A1. She's tanky, defense-based again, and she's bringing a continuous heal while she's at it, right? Increasing the cooldown of a random skill on each target by 1 turn at a 30% on the A1 is actually not a very bad ability, so you can use her again. Spider tank, spider control with a stun set, and a little bit of healage from this champion as well. I'm a big fan of Zephyr Sniper. I was definitely impressed with her. I maxed her out fairly recently. Actually, I didn't need to move anywhere because we have number 2 on the list is going to be Shield Guard. Shield Guard is a monster in lifesteal gear. I've done a video or 2 on him throughout the years. You can go ahead and check that out. I have one on the Champion Guide channel on him as well. It's got a decreased speed on the A1. He's got an AoE on a 2-turn cooldown. Fills his champion's turn meter by 20% on each critical hit. Damage inflicted proportional to defense. Are you kidding me, man? Removes 1 debuff from this champion at the start of each turn. This guy's like a machine with this AoE. It makes him able to solo the highest stage of Minotaur's Labyrinth so that you guys can go ahead and get your masteries. He can solo Ice Golem as well, again in lifesteal gear. A 2-turn AoE with turn meter fill. That's pretty nuts, and he's a defense-based champion, so again, fairly easy to keep alive. He's a really solid uncommon champion, worth upgrading because he can fill that role on your team, again, of a solo scroll farmer, right? And not have to use a more valuable champion in that role. Even on top of that, he's a great damage dealer and fairly easy, again, to keep alive just for wave content in the game. Number 1, of course, to the surprise of nobody out there at all, it is Errol. No, I'm joking. It is Armiger. Armiger, obviously, or I shouldn't say obviously, maybe some people it's not super obvious, but to me it is. He's got decreased turn meter on his A1, 30% if the attack is critical. He's another defense-based champion. And then he's got an enemy max HP ability that denies revival on a 2-turn cooldown on lay to rest. Listen, it's not hitting as hard as the other enemy max HP abilities that you're more familiar with out there in the game. Well, you're probably familiar with Armiger too, but either way, it's an enemy max HP ability that can smack for 100k plus against Spider. Obviously, depending on the level, can be even much more higher than that, right? And the turn meter. So it makes him an amazing Spider champion, and really against any boss that's susceptible to turn meter depletion, he's fantastic. Again, he has the turn meter control and the enemy max HP. Good against minions of bosses as well, because he can deny their revival. So there you go, guys. There you have it, my top 10 uncommon champions ranked from 10 to 1 in Raid Shadow Legends. Thank you for watching till the end of the video, guys. I appreciate you all. Sending some positive vibes, some love your way if you need it. And as always, take care, guys.